So, as of the time of this recording, Russia is at war with Ukraine and they've already invaded certain bits and, started bombing Kiev and shit. And while the rest of the world is busy hoping that this war ends because we would not want a full on World War III, I kid you the hell not, there is a couple of people that are debating about some of the most seemingly pointless shit when you look at the, multitude of things that are happening in the world today. So, take for example, there was someone who sort of started a debate on Twitter, which ended up on the Shade Room on IG, and it was one simple question which I don't even think should really be something that people will talk about. And it originated from this tweet which says, and I quote, "Your friend's nigga should not be in your close friends. I don't give a fuck how cool your is. Boundaries." And the question that came up because of this tweet, which was a tweet but also ended up becoming a debate on IG as well, was, and I quote, "People are really arguing this down. Sexual content or not, why would you do this?" So a bunch of people came in with a couple of their answers. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We were friends before. So the person who asked the question was trying to remove certain bits. So the fact that you and your friend's man might have been friends before, and or the fact that there's sexual content. And then now there was this whole debate. And I never really thought that this whole idea of close friends was such a big thing up until, I guess, I started talking to a lot more babes, and I started seeing a lot of the stuff that babes are posting, not necessarily on close friends, but about close friends. So I decided to talk to the friend who had sent me this Shade Room post on IG and sort of just ask about the importance of close friends, why it is that people hold it in high regard. And after talking to her and a few other people a little bit here and there, I did start to realize why it is that, babes and say maybe the LGBT community will prefer to use close friends, will actually like close friends as opposed to the rest of us guys. Because when I think about it, when you look at babes and you look at, members of the LGBT, they tend to be a lot more secretive with a lot of the more or less explicit things that they do. For us guys, it's not like we're trying to post up our dick pics online. I don't think none of us is as bold as Nelly to go and post up our dicks. Then people go ahead and call it small. Plus, if anything, there's not really that much that's to be said besides the fact that, oh, there's a dick there, blah, blah, blah. Yes, maybe some babes can hop onto your DMs, but for the most part, there's not that much benefit that you'll get from being explicit as a guy. You'd have to be a certain kind of explicit as a guy, which appeals to babes for it to actually be a thing that you might want to post up on IG stories. But that said, with babes, for them, explicit is anything from taking clothes off to dancing in a seductive way to being fucked. There's an entire lineup of stuff that they can do that will arouse both men and women. The LGBT, I can get for them, especially if you're in a place like Kenya, which isn't as friendly, at least on, a public level towards the LGBT community, then you can get why, those guys will go and post up, naked pictures. They can go and post up stuff that's related to the LGBT, stuff that will be for them and their community and the people that they're comfortable with to kind of take in and consume, knowing full well that that is probably what they believe or what they would like to show, but they can't do it as publicly. So that said, I sort of started to ask the kind of people that would be on the close friends list. Because if you're going to be doing that, then you'd probably have to have an idea of who to have there. Now, if you're not posting up anything particularly explicit and you just want to show, say the good bits of something, which I feel like is almost a waste, considering that there's nothing particularly secretive that you have to put there, then you can go and you can have a bunch of friends that you like or a bunch of people that you wouldn't mind showing some things to. But most times, close friends will have the explicit shit, will have the more intimate shit, the stuff that you wouldn't want everyone else to sort of, kind of find out about, but you'd be okay with a few people knowing. And I was actually being told by a certain babe that there's babes who will go and will have a close friends list, and if they want to put up something explicit, they only put some niggas that they want to hit, or niggas that they have hit and they want to come back, or their boyfriend, or their boyfriends, or their niggas that they're fucking. They'll put all of them in the close friends list and then they'll put up explicit shit. And I was like, what? You're telling me a shorty who has her boyfriend but probably has a couple of niggas on the side will keep the boyfriend out, have the niggas that she wants to fuck on the close friends list, and upload explicit imagery on IG, or at least on IG stories on the close friends list, for other niggas to see, because the boyfriend is probably still going to hit that same exact thing. Like, what the fuck? So I decided to go and just ask a little bit further. Like, what exactly are those guys to that babe? It's like, oh, you know, their potentials, or, you know, just a guy that they're trying some shit with, and so on and so forth. And I was like, alright, cool. So I actually sat and I thought about it for a bit, because I'm on some people's close friends lists and I get to see some things. I don't think there's anything particularly too explicit that I've seen, you know, save for one or two. But the thought of it, like, there's a nigga who knows he's hitting that. There's a nigga who wants to hit that, that's on the close friends list, that is clearly getting really, really good content. But then I ended up now starting to ask myself, like, what role does this guy play? Is he a friend with benefits? Is he a boyfriend? Is he a potential boyfriend? Is he a husband? Like, is he a potential husband or some shit? And I couldn't find any. So I decided to ask like two babes about the entire thing. You know, two babes that I knew very well might be having a guy, but, you know, they seem to be playing around a little bit here and there. You know, no judgment, no nothing. Just went ahead and just asked them about, you know, the roles that some of those guys play and what it is that they're called. And it suddenly struck me that with both of these babes and in a bunch of other instances, there's actually no label that's placed on these people. And when you ask them, so how do you guys relate? Is it a relationship? Is it a relationship that's waiting to happen or something? Like, are you guys friends with benefits or anything? And they're like, no, I prefer not to put a label on it. And okay, let me get this straight. We're currently in the day and age, we're currently in the time of our lives where we have more relationship-based labels than anything. Like, there is the friend zone, much as we didn't exactly choose it. There's the sex-only zone, which is a little bit more recent. There's friends with benefits. There's, you know, the open relationship. There's swingers. There's, you know, co-parenting and everything. Like, there's all of these labels, and people are like, you know what? I prefer not to put a label on it. Like, if you look at back in the day, you know, give it 200 years ago, it was only dating, courtship, engaged, and married. Like, between single and married, there was only like 3 of them. Right now, we have so many, and some of them are very pointless, considering that in a lot of instances, it's usually just one person who's ended up bending over to another person's will simply because they want the smallest bit of the potential relationship that they'd like. So, like, take, for example, the friend zone. The friend zone is pretty much the babe who's getting all of the emotional security and friendship that she'd want from the guy, but isn't giving the sex or the relationship benefits that the guy would probably want. And it's not like the guy likes being in the friend zone, but he's simply there because he hopes that it will get him closer to the babe, or he's willing to take that much less because he wants to be with the babe so badly. You know, you look at the sex only zone, or, you know, more or less the friends with benefits. Sometimes you find that the friends with benefits has the babe wanting a relationship with a guy, but settling for that because it's the best that they feel that they can get. Otherwise, they'd have to drop the guy. Or you find that it's a guy that wants the relationship, but that's the best that, you know, he can probably get with a babe. And sometimes people are afraid of commitment, and instead of saying no, they're like, you know what, let's try shit out. And I'm not going to act like I haven't been a victim or a perpetrator of any of these labels. I have. But to get to a point where you're like, you know what, we don't want labels, like, we're the generation of people that came up with most of these labels. We've come up with most of these labels over the past 10, 15 years. Like, a ton of these labels didn't exist or weren't even being used up until recently. So why not pick up any one of these labels, or just drop them all together and say, you know what, I'm either single, dating, engaged, or married? Like, why can't we do that? Because with the way these situationships are evolving, and, you know, I guess that's the umbrella term, you know, situationship, if we continue evolving more and more of these things, we're going to have fewer and fewer relationships because people are focusing on the situation that they'd like to have, and they're sticking to that. other than a relationship which might carry a lot more fulfillment, but will still carry whatever it is that you want and then some. Like, I don't know. Is the relationship dying? Is the situationship here to take over the spot that the relationship has always had and dominate what we currently have in the dating scene and the dating market? Because with the way it's looking, it seems like it might just be here to stay. But then again, I might be wrong about it, and weirdly enough, I am actually hoping that I am wrong about this entire thing, but I want your thoughts on this. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at Breaktime on Westside. On Facebook, it is at Breaktime on Westside as well. And on Twitter, you can slide into my personal DMs, which is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and if you are listening through Castbox, feel free to drop your thoughts and comments below, and I will attend to them accordingly, and I will catch you guys on the next break.